Headlines this hour. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives Jordan to participate in counter-terrorism summit. Federal government call on Nigerians to use whistleblower policy on human trafficking. On the foreign scene, Trump wins as U.S. Senate passes historic tax reform. In sports, Super Eagles begin preparations for 2018 World Cup. Details in a moment. Please do stay with us. And now the news. President Muhammadu Buhari is currently in Jordan to participate in a summit of heads of state to review strategies in fighting terrorism. The summit, to be hosted by His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan, would also look at ways of reinforcing joint security structures that would be more proactive in preventing attacks. Upon arrival, the president was received at the airport by Jordanian government officials as well as some officials from Nigeria. The federal government has called on Nigerians to report human traffickers in the society. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Abike W. Erewa, said the federal government's whistleblower policy against human trafficking will ensure that those that give credible information about human traffickers are handsomely rewarded. According to her, the recent slave trade business happening in Libya would not have affected Nigerians if those caught up in it had listened to the advice by the federal government not to travel to that country because of the dangers involved. He further promised that the Buhari administration is working to ensure more youth are gainfully engaged to avoid dangerous expeditions in search of greener pastures. Every 2nd of December is set aside to observe the International Day for Abolition of Slavery, and this year's commemoration coincides with the resurgence of modern-day slavery across the world. Recent developments where Nigerians and other African nationals are being sold into slavery in Libya has yet drawn attention to the evil of slave trade and man's inhumanity to man. In this interview, Nigerians condemn the latest development in Libya and appeal to government to ensure the barbaric act brought to a halt.
It's amazing that at this point in time, such an issue should crop up of people being sold into slavery in Libya, and unfortunately one of them is said to be a Nigerian. I think it's condemnable, and I don't think it's something that we should look at lightly. AU, the African Union, should take a very hard stance on this, and rightly the House of Representatives has taken this up, and they have said that the committees on human rights and foreign affairs should look into this issue, and that the Nigerian government should liaise with the Libyan government to find out what exactly transpired.
I will advise the Nigerian government to stand up and take a drastic, holistic measures in curbing such situations, because this has been going on for some time now. It's not even starting today. So I think Nigerians should summon the Libyan government on how to tackle the situation. An investigation should be carried out on the particular time it has been happening, in the process it has been happening. So we think our legislators need to do something, and as well to come up with a bill to curb this situation.
The inhuman acts being perpetrated in the Libya, I strongly condemn it. And I think relevant agencies in the United Nations and other human rights agencies, including Amnesty International, should actually look into this to actually ascertain the veracity of this claim and make sure that the perpetrators of this heinous crime against humanity, they are brought to book with a view to actually serve as a deterrent to those who engage in it.
If you look at that particular inhumanity done to mankind, actually quite very bad and needed to be investigated accurately. The government is required to really be very decisive and ensure that things are being expected to be given to citizenry are done appropriately, and certain measures required to be done ought to be done so that Nigerians who feel that they are not being taken care of will now have the benefits of living and living very well.
Despite the abolition of slavery in 1865, involuntary servitude continued through human trafficking and other forms of exploitation. Hard as it is to believe, there are instances of physical and emotional violence against men. While violence against women has continued to make news, little is heard cases of violence against men. In this interview, concerned Nigerians are charging men to begin to speak up rather than die in silence. They also called on couples to cultivate the habit of relating with one another, understanding and commitment.
So annoying hearing that women nowadays are killing, beating their husband, which is not supposed to be the right thing. The violence can be emotional, can be physical, but we can control ourselves as women. So in our culture, it's unheard of for a woman to lay hands on their husband. Things pushes us to the wall, but we should respect our husband, which is number one thing to build a right home and a stable family.
Not only the women that are violated, men too are violated. There are emotional violations, physical violations. The woman is the neck of the home. But without the neck, the head cannot stand as the neck. But women should also know that without the head, the neck cannot reason. So women should learn to have respect for their husbands.
It's a very terrible thing. It's one of the ills of our society today. Violence against men could be emotional, could be physical. Don't always look at the physical when you want to get a wife. Always look within. Don't always look at the physical thing that you see. Try to know the woman character. Try to understand if this is a woman that you can tolerate for the rest of your life. And also for the women, we should watch our tongue. It's really, really something that kills a man emotionally.
Nigerians have been advised on the need to protect and keep themselves safe the effects of the Harmattan season by its herder. Speaking with their correspondents, a medical practitioner and other Nigerians said the new season comes with some health hazards, hence the need to be cautious.
We are in the dry season or Harmattan season, and usually this period is characterized by heavy dust. Then there is increase in transmission of diseases that are airborne, such as catarrh. If you get to a dusty area, you have a handkerchief, use it and cover your nose, you can still breathe well. Especially for those who are asthmatic, have your inhaler handy. This is also a period that people suffer from conjunctivitis. If one could protect himself or herself from dust, then the infection rate reduces.
Visibility is not as it used to because of the period we are. Drivers, they should ensure their headlights is on, and the people too should watch carefully before crossing the road and wear safety gadgets to avoid inhaling of this dust and other gaseous substances that is not healthy.
In this summertime, there's this that they cover the nose with. It's advisable everybody should get one. Because even right now I have catarrh. There's also a danger of bushfire. Those people that smoke throw it away like that without extinguishing it very well.
It's always said around this time of the year that life has no duplicate. So everybody has to be very, very careful. Even the drivers that are on the road carrying passengers, even the private ones, you have to be very careful. Check your tires, check everything about your car. There's no need of speed in as much as the road we have here is very good. If you talk about this weather, we have to be very careful about the weather because the weather is not all that friendly. It's a harsh weather also, especially our children. We need to take care of them very well in the daytime. These days, the heat, you cannot even differentiate when the heat and the cold is coming on. So we need to be watchful and take care of our children.
Regular exercise, balanced diet and relaxation are known to be the basic therapy for proficient ways to manage stress. To this effect, Nigerians have been urged to learn to manage stress to avoid breaking down and developing health issues. Medical practitioner Iheme Wisdom in this interview advised Nigerians on stress management techniques.
Stress generally is something smooth weekends, marketplace. Stress is something that category humans when at sense. Managing stress generally, there are various methods to be. But it's important to always make out time to ensure quality rest after I had this job, and this should also be bolstered by quality diet, balanced diet.
Life is very stressful. That's the way you manage it.
Exercise, very important component of stress management, alongside relaxation.
Rest as often as you can, and frequent places that calms your nerves. Avoid crowds and avoid noises. Get enough sleep. More than 6 hours, a regular 6 hours of sleep every day.
Not managing stress at the body break, be affecting physical, social, and mental aspects of one's lives. Cycle.
Police command confirmed the death of 4 of its men in clash with gunmen in Numan local government area. The command spokesman, Uthman Abubakar, who confirmed the incident to newsmen in Yola, said the 4 policemen were killed from Norman Divisional Headquarters and were on patrol when the incident occurred. He said, contrary to speculations by the public that the killing was by Fulani militia on reprisal attack, the identity of the gunmen yet to be established. He further stated that the command was still investigating the incident and had further boosted security in the area with support of the military. And from there we'll take a short break, but please do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome, my dear friends.
Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough.
You know.
Give me 101.1 effort.
Welcome back. And on the foreign scene, U.S. Senate Republicans passed landmark tax reform early today, a critical step towards delivering a monumental legislative victory for President Donald Trump. First year in office. After a marathon session that stretched overnight, the chamber voted 51 to 49 in favor of the nation's largest tax overhaul in 31 years. This is overcoming internal Republican resistance, dismissing Democrats angry over the last-minute handwriting changes to the legislation. The Senate version, and one passed earlier this month by the House of Representatives, must now be reconciled into a single bill and approved by both chambers before the president's signature. Both versions dramatically lower the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%, include more modest tax quotes aimed at individuals across all income levels. And in sports, Nigeria's preparation for the 2018 FIFA World Cup have effectively kicked off, with the team's technical advisors in a row revealing that the coaching staff is already considering some venues to set up a pre-World Cup based camp in Russia. This comes after Friday's draw placed the team in Group D with Iceland, Croatia and familiar foes Argentina. The German-born tactician also talked about his team's chances when hostilities start in Russia next year and harped on the need to ensure adequate preparation both physically and mentally before the team gets to Russia. On their part, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) have agreed to offer a financial assistance of $500,000 each to the Super Eagles, Nigeria, and the quartet of Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, and Senegal ahead of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. The decision to offer the money to the 5 African representatives to next year's World Cup, which will serve as assistance to the countries, was taken during CAF's Executive Committee meeting held in Rabat, Morocco, on November 16, 2017. And that does it this hour, but before we go, we'd like to remind you that President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived in Jordan to participate in Counter-Terrorism Summit. Federal government called on Nigerians to use whistleblower policy and human trafficking. And the foreign scene, Trump wins as U.S. Senate passes historic tax reform. Thank you for listening. I'm Morikike Igado Kure.